Welcome back to Buddha Bites. I'm Iris Fairfax, and this is episode 12. If you like what you see here, it would be great if you would hit like, if you would subscribe so that you don't miss a single episode, if you would share with your friends, and if you would comment. And when you do comment, I'd love to know if there's any type of food or any type of recipe that you'd like to see me demonstrate down the line. Maybe it'll show up the next episode or two. If you've been with me up to this point, you know that I love a good dinner party. I love a good potluck. And with all of the food and all of the drink and all of the conversation and good times, even if the dessert is beautiful, sometimes we're a little sort of fatigued from eating, or the dessert looks a little daunting to us. And so, we sort of run out of steam by the time that this beautiful dessert is served. So I've tried to figure out what dessert could come down the line that is manageable for everybody to eat, and also perhaps makes them feel a little less guilty to eat dessert. And I've discovered over and over again that the answer a lot of times is Zabaglione or Zabaglione. Zabaglione is an Italian custard that is made with egg yolks, sugar, and Marsala wine is the traditional preparation. But there are all sorts of ways that you can tweak it and make it your own. So I'd like to demonstrate starting with the classic recipe, and then we will sort of branch off into variations on that recipe right now. So let's go into the kitchen and make Zabaglione. So we start with simmering water. We only want a few inches in here. I'm almost embarrassed to show you this pot has been through some times, but it's perfect for what we're doing now. You only want a few inches because we're going to make our own double boiler with a stainless steel pan, a stainless steel bowl, and you want it positioned to where it is on the pot, but that the water doesn't touch the bottom of the bowl. But I'm actually going to wait on that. I just want to show you this. I don't want it to get too hot before we get into the eggs. So I would like to show the proper recipe for separating eggs. I'm going to take my rings off to do it. Now, I know this skeeves some people, but it really is the best way to separate eggs. It's the safest way. The Three Stooges had a routine where Curly was making something. He goes, "Separate two eggs." That's not the way. And I made my brother-in-law laugh. Okay, so this is the way to separate eggs. And I've already done some. I finally got my beautiful happy eggs back. You want to do what we've done before, tap it on the surface, and very carefully open up the egg. Now, some people believe, look at this gorgeous egg. I'm so happy. I couldn't get these for a while. A lot of people like to rock the egg back and forth among the shell halves, but that could potentially break the egg yolk. And there are times when that could ruin your dish. So you just want to get it in your hand and get all of the whites out. Now, and then you pop it in. Now, I ended up cracking that over here where I wanted to put all the whites. So let's get rid of these whites. And then I'll do it one more time. So this is all yolk, or almost all yolk. So again, one more time, crack the egg, and I'm gonna do this over the whites this time. And then you have your beautiful happy egg. And you just put it in your hand, try not to break the yolk. And if you need to rock it back and forth a little bit, just to get the rest of that white out, then you can do it that way, and there you go. Now, we don't want to get rid of these egg whites. They are perfect for meringue. They're perfect for an egg white omelet, so we're going to save these. But they have nothing else to do with this recipe. So I'm going to wash my hands real quick, just rinse them off, and we will go on. This recipe takes 6 egg yolks. And that is what we have here. I'm going to put this back on and plop these right in here. 6 egg yolks. I just adore these. Oh my gosh, they're so gorgeous. And we are going to begin whisking them right away. Now, after you see yolks like this, how can you possibly go back to the standard ones? I just don't know how that's possible. So from here, we add 1/4 cup of sugar. Now, this is my favorite golden sugar. Of course, you can use regular white sugar if that's what you have. That is, of course, the standard way, but once I discovered the golden sugar, you know me, I like color. The more color I can have in my food, the happier I am. So you want to get it to where the egg yolks and the sugar are combined. This is where you add the marsala. And I'm going to stop for a moment, but really, you do not want to stop whisking for the most part. This is marsala. It is a fortified wine. It is, I wouldn't really drink this as a beverage, but it is so versatile for both sweet and savory food. It has a lovely, almost like, it reminds me almost of a Bristol cream. And as you've seen, I've made a lot of Zabaglione, so it's about time for me to get some more. You need 2 ounces, which is 1/4 cup. You put that right on in, and then you continue to whisk. Now, you could, instead of using marsala, use some other spirit. I have made Zabaglione with amaretto. I've made it with frangelico, which makes a really nice sort of a buttery Zabaglione. But I really wanted to demonstrate the classic way, at least for now. It has a really distinct aroma. And in spite of the fact that the traditional recipe does not include vanilla, to me, everything is better with vanilla. So here's my trusty pure vanilla extract. If I find out that any of you are using vanilla extract, I will hunt you down. It is made with chemicals that you do not want in your system. Now, ooh, lovely. So I'm going to put maybe about a teaspoon of vanilla in here. There are other options if you would like to get a little bit more color or, you know, sort of character in your Zabaglione. You can also use, instead of vanilla extract, you can use vanilla bean paste. And the vanilla bean paste has the seeds in it, so it has the nice black seeds that sort of pepper the dish. So that's a nice option if you like. Or you could also use, and I hardly ever use this, vanilla powder. This comes, I've gotten this at our neighborhood produce market. Probably costs about $1 or $2. It's not that expensive. But it's a good option if you don't want to add any additional liquid to your dish. I don't really think that it's a negligible amount of liquid, so I really don't think it matters. But sometimes it might. Say, for instance, you're making marshmallows or something like that. That might mean something to you. But I just wanted to show you some options. And while I'm mixing this up, I wanted to show you a couple of other options as to the liquor you can use. This is nocello. This is a walnut liqueur. It is Italian. And I have a very hard time getting it. It's very hard to get. I ended up getting this years ago in Jersey. Yes, I took some, contraband over the bridge. But nocello is great. It has the walnut taste, almost gives a little touch of bitterness. And with all the sweets, sometimes a little bit of bitter is nice. And as I mentioned before, I have used amaretto before, and it has been really, really nice to have that nice little hit of amaretto. I just recently discovered this, which I'm just going to set this down while I continue to whisk. This liqueur is called biscotti, biscotto Faretti It is a biscotti flavored cordial. And I guess, you might have to stop and think about, well, what does a biscotti cordial taste like? Well, what does biscotti taste like? It tastes like almond, or it tastes like citrus, some sort of a nut, even if it's not almond. And also, there is a hit of fennel. So that could really make an interesting flavor profile to your Zabaglione, but I think I might just drink this later. So we are going to take a little break while I get this to the consistency that it needs to be before we cool it down. This again is the standard recipe, and for folks who want to do the standard recipe, this is essentially where the ingredients stop. But I want to get it to the consistency that we need it to be before we cool it down. So hang tight and I'll come back when it gets there. All right, so you will see that the consistency has changed as I pull this up. It almost forms kind of like ribbons. There is no evidence of coagulated egg. It's even slightly lighter in color. So this is where we take it off of the water. Watch yourself for steam burns. In fact, I'm going to watch myself for steam burns. And we're going to just take it, we're going to leave it alone for just a moment while I go to the refrigerator. So here's a really good idea, even for, like, if you're having a dinner party. And we always run out of ice. So make your own ice, put it in a zipper bag. I'm going to be using this to cool down the Zabaglione mixture. So I'm putting it in a larger bowl, and I think just to sort of coax the process a little bit, I might add a little bit of water as well, so that it's not just sitting in ice, it's actually sitting in ice water, which will help it to cool down faster. So that is ready to go. I'm going to put this back in the freezer. And then I will grab a couple of other chilled things that I need. In cooking, the temperature that you start things out with is so important sometimes. These eggs had to start at room temperature. Now, I am going to actually whip some cream, so that has to start as cold as you can possibly get it. So I actually, just a little bit ago, put this in the freezer to sort of boost the chill on it. And I am going to whip cream in, as you've seen before with me, a bowl that I had waiting for me in the freezer. So we're going to multitask here. We're going to take the Zabaglione, and I am going to go back and forth between whipping that and whipping the cream. So in this case, I'm going to add, now this is non-traditional, but I like the whipped cream. I'm going to add 1 cup of heavy cream that has been chilled very much, very much. Matter of fact, I think I saw a little bit of ice there. And so this is a cup, and I am not going to add anything to this. I don't think, with the 1/4 cup of sugar, with the fruit that's going to come down the pike, with the marsala, which is a sweet fortified wine, you really don't need to add anything to this whipped cream. Now, I like the whipped cream for a couple of different reasons. First of all, purely economical, it actually stretches the recipe. This recipe is essentially for 4 portions of Zabaglione, which might be fine if you have 4 people coming over, but what if you have 6 or 8? Then you can stretch it out by folding in this whipped cream. Not only that, but it actually will make your Zabaglione lighter in texture. So, as you see, I am dividing my time between whipping the cream and chilling down the Zabaglione. Now my hands are impeccably clean, so I'm going to check the temperature. This is coming down a little bit, and I will continue to whip the cream. And we're going to take another break because you don't need to see me whipping cream. We're going to take a little break and get this whipped up to consistency, and we'll come back when we fold it all together. All right, so we have gotten the whipped cream nice and whipped to nice stiff peaks. So this whisk can go away. And our traditional Zabaglione mixture, as you see, there's much less of this than there will be in a moment. This is cooled, so I want to get as much of this as I possibly can, but I'm not going to be too greedy. Maybe I'll lick this later. So what I will do for now is to reserve some of this traditional Zabaglione and put it into this coupe glass, because we are going to embellish this later. Yes, and I'll clean it up in a moment, but for now we're going to just leave that aside. And now we are going to fold, I say we, I know it's just me. I'm going to fold some of this whipped cream, if not all, into the Zabaglione. And you want to start out with just a little bit, because when you're introducing something that has whipped air into something that's more dense, you need to sort of introduce it slowly. Now you see I'm cutting into the bottom of the bowl and easing it into being incorporated, and you'll see that the streaks are sort of prominent, but they're going away. So this mixture is already lighter, so I can now go in with the rest of the whipped cream. And remember that I did not add sugar to this. You could add sugar to it if you wanted, but I just really didn't think it was necessary. And every time I serve a dessert, the ones that get the most compliments are the ones that people say, and it's not too sweet. Every time. And it's not too sweet. So we're going to then, I cut down the center and continue to work the whipped cream in very gently. You don't want to stir the devil out of this, because you don't want to deflate all of that beautiful air that you worked so hard to create. You see how much more Zabaglione? I mean, really, let's look at this. This was the traditional. So you see how dense this is? It's beautiful. And by the way, you can also serve Zabaglione warm. That is another way to serve it. But you see the difference between the density of this and the lightness that we have created in my enhanced Zabaglione. So I think that this is in good shape. This is a good place to talk about enhancing it. So remember that, oh goodness, that's going to be something for me to eat later. Remember when we did the nut brittle and we made those gorgeous candies that so many people feel guilty about eating because they're concerned about their teeth? I know I have a problem with one of my teeth. It's giving me the devil of a time. And so I even was very careful about eating the nut brittle. But you can take a zipper bag, and you can take your shards of brittle and just pound them with a meat pounder, and as much or as little as you like, and then you have these lovely pieces. So that is an option we're going to use in a couple of different ways. I think I'd like to put these in the bottom of this particular glass, and I'm going to find some really, really fine ones to put in the bottom. So we'll leave that be, and then we'll go back over to this one. And I'm just going to clean it up a tiny little bit. And maybe put some of these on the top of this dessert. That would be nice. And maybe for this Zabaglione, I will add, oh, I don't know. How about pomegranate seeds? These can be lovely. And, you know, the more fruit you put in a dessert, the less guilty your guests feel. So here is one option done. Now let's go back over and let's do a parfait. Like, I took a picture and I put it on the internet with a beautiful parfait that I sort of stacked. And so let's see what we can do with this Zabaglione, doing a parfait where we layer it. So let's see, I'll take this same serving spoon, I'm going to dry it off a little bit. There we go. And we will take our lightened Zabaglione, place it right in here. And I think I feel a little bit more generous because the whipped cream made it more plentiful. There we go. So I took some fresh cherries and I macerated them in Kirschwasser, which is a cherry liqueur, and I also put in a little bit of brandy. Now, cherries are not always at their best if they're not in season, so that's why I macerated it with a little bit of liqueur. Now, I do want to show you my single-use item that I believe in very much. It's not really a single-use item because a cherry pitter can be used to pit olives as well. So I take this, I pop it down, and I always, even if I've gotten the pit, I always open it up just to make sure, because you don't want to be the one to send your guest to the dentist. People would not want to come back to your house. So let's take these beautiful macerated cherries and drain off a little bit of the liqueur. And that gives us an elegant dessert. It has the brittle on the bottom, but then we will top it off with a shard of brittle as a garnish. And we gild the lily here with Buddha bites, so Luxardo cherries. Now, this is like a $20 jar, so you want to use them sparingly. But what's to stop you from adding a couple of Luxardos to make a gorgeous parfait? So we're gonna set these down, and I'm gonna have a couple of other ideas that I will present to you in just a moment in the dining room of more fruit options for your Zabaglione dessert. See you in a moment. All right, look at our Zabaglione fest with all of these beautiful desserts here. We have our traditional Zabaglione with pomegranate seeds. Now, that's not for people who have trouble with their teeth because it's seeds, but it is a delicious, delicious way to go. And we have our cherry Zabaglione, which has the addition of the cream, and it has our peanut brittle. I love this. I think that might be my favorite one until I taste the next one. Let's see. And we have a more generous portion of Zabaglione, again with our peanut brittle. We made it a couple of layers of it and then put a dollop of Zabaglione on the top, and then yet again gilded the lily with a shard of peanut brittle. and crumbled peanut brittle on the top. And I have these wonderful lotus cookies that I used for Valentine's Day. They're so versatile. And I decided to use some blood orange. And what I did was I supremed them, which is a technique that we can talk about some other time, when you take an orange and you slice orange slices that are just free of any membrane. That is another technique for another time. So I am going to light into one of these, but before I do, I wanted to offer a couple of cordial ideas. So this is the delicious biscotti liqueur. I'm going to taste a little bit of it. That would go beautifully. I would say I would do that with the big Zabaglione parfait. Yummy. And I can taste a little bit of a sort of a licorice thing there. And this is amaretto. This would be really good if you decide to make almond brittle. Then you would use this to enhance your Zabaglione. You could even use this to make your Zabaglione. And finally, the precious, precious nocello. This one that I don't even know if you can currently get it right now from Italy. So, so tasty. I love all the flavors. It's almost like Frangelico with a little bit more of an edge. But I really think the best complement to a dessert like this is a good old cup of coffee. Which if you've been drinking these cordials, you might need some coffee by then. So I hope that this is a nice jumping off point for you to make a lovely light dessert to end your meal, where people feel like it's still luxurious, but it is a little bit less guilt-inducing, at least for the folks I've served it to. So this is Iris Fairfax from Buddha Bites. Yum. Remember, you're sweet. The Buddha deserves something sweet. You are the Buddha. See you next time.